We're here with Sam Carver. What did you do this weekend?
This weekend I played YCS Bologna. After 12 rounds of Swiss, I was X3. Sadly didn't make it to top cut, but did place 93rd out of 2,488, I believe. I played Runick Stun. It wasn't possibly the best choice for the event, but it was a strong choice that I owned. Let's just jump right into it. So for the monsters, I only played two. They basically turn off every monster effect that isn't a spirit. So Shuffler's Engrave, Hand Traps, monsters on board. This is Amano Awano. It returns to the hand to turn it as flip summoned, or flip face up, or normal summoned. This effect can be sort of skipped if it's negated by skill drain or another negating effect. Then it sticks on the board and the opponent will never get to activate a monster effect. Next up is Runick Fountain, main card of the deck, as you can see by the map. Only playing two because it's all I'm allowed to play. You're always looking for this, but you don't want to search off Hugin because summoning Hugin opens you up to hand trapping like Imperm Effect Veiler Ash, which isn't great. Free tip, you know what it does, it searches a runic spell, banishes one, and then special summons a runic. That's true for all of them, they all have the effect where you can special summon a runic. And also, if you activate them, you do skip your next battle phase. It's always important to play your phases clearly, as I did, apart from in the one game where I completely forgot to and I ended up losing that game. It's very important to do. Runic Destruction is destroy, spell and trap, banish top four, same other runic effects. This card's actually one of the better ones because of the amount it banishes. Also, if the opponent tries to imperm one of your cards, in an attempt to negate the column and negate the floodgate that's in that column, you can destruction the imperm and it does not negate the column because imperm has to remain in the column to negate the column. Next up is Free of Freezing Curses. It's negate and then top free. Again, very good. Sadly, you can't activate its first effect under skill drain, but we do have a way of turning our skill drain off. Free Runic Slumber. Target monster, it cannot be destroyed once per turn and it cannot attack the turn you activate it, so it's really good for blocking attacks, but also protecting your monsters if you need to. It banishes free, which is another great number. Runic Flashing Fire was really good all event, apart from when I played against Flu. It destroys the special summon monster and then banishes the top two. Great for removing big threats. Next up is one Runic Smiting Storm. This banishes cards up to the number of cards the opponent controls, so it can banish one card, it can banish 10 cards. I banished an opponent's entire deck with this. They had 11 cards remaining and they had a full board. Then I passed turn. They died. Next up is the pots. This is the only kind of questionable one. I've been testing it because I really want to see my floodgates or the cards that win me the game. Pot of Prosperity is kind of broken. Seeing 6 cards off the top is great. The only limitation is that you cannot special summon. Sorry, you cannot draw cards. The one that stops you from special summoning is the next one. Pot of Duality. I play both the pots. I play both Prosp and Duality to ensure I'm seeing a lot of my deck. Because the higher chance I have of seeing a floodgate is probably the higher chance I have of winning that game because I don't win any other way. Card of Demise is a draw free. It's really good because you can normal Amano, activate Card of Demise for free because they can't hand trap you. During the end phase, you choose to resolve the effect of Card of Demise first, then you can resolve Amano's effect to return to the hand, so you don't have to discard it. My 41st card was actually Time Tearing Morganite. This allows you to draw 2 cards for your draw phase, normal summon twice, and you can't hand trap the opponent. I wasn't playing hand traps anyway. It's very rarely that I'll need to normal summon twice, but drawing 2 cards gives you advantage that the opponent can't always keep up with, especially when they're locked under floodgates. Next up is the traps. So we've got 2 skill drain. Skill drain's great, it turns off effects, keeps stuff on board. Also, it's one of the floodgates. It's really good against Flu, it's really against other decks. It's generally just a very good card. One of my kind of techie floodgates was Grave of the Super Ancients. Level 6 or higher special summon monsters cannot attack or declare their effects, so they can't activate them. It's really important they can't activate them, whereas under skill drain you can. This completely hoses decks like Branded, as it did in the pods. It's also good into random stuff like Diabell Star. It turns off Turbulence. It turns off just other big special monsters, but not very good against Flu. So it's an easy side out. It's often also an easy side out into stuff like Sprite, so you know what cards to put in. Next up is free. There can be only one. Another one, the Floodgates, in the same vein as Rivalry and Gozen. It's a Floodgate. There's not much more to explain here. Same for the Gozen. This is your attribute lock, and then your type lock in Rivalry. Any combination of these two is normally game, as it locks them into one monster, kind of akin to Kaiser Colosseum. And the card that almost every player read, which is Scrub Raid, which is during the battle phase, you can send a card you control to the graveyard to end the battle phase. The relevant information here is that it places you in the end step of the battle phase, so you can keep using its effect even during your battle phase. So you can Scrub Raid multiple times in the same battle phase. It's a really old card, quite funny, very good, saves me a lot of times because you can Runick spell, chain Scrub Raid's effect, and then end the battle phase while still resolving the Runick spell. Up next, we're going to the extra deck. It's very simple, it's just Runick cards mainly, a few odd bits. Triple Moonin, if you would target a Runick card or a set card you control, you can banish this card as cost to negate the activation and destroy it, I believe. During the end phase, you gain 1,000 life points. That's a mandatory trigger. It's also relevant that it's not just your end phase, it's both players, so you can actually gain quite a lot of life points on this to keep you alive and keep you from dying. It also has another effect where you can search a continuous Runick spell. I'm not playing any, I don't know what it does, I've never actually activated that effect. Next up is 2 Jerry, the Runick Fang. This card can't be destroyed by card effects. When it's destroyed by battle, you can destroy a card in the field, possibly even your own if you really need to. And also when it's summoned, you can add a non-quick play Runick card from grave to hand. I believe the main thing I'm adding here is probably Fountain. It's the only thing you'll ever add. Next up is Slipnir. I'll be honest, normally if I'm summoning this card, it's very desperate. It is actually one of my first cards to banish off Prosp. When the opponent adds cards from deck to hand, once per turn, you can summon a Runick token, which is a 15/15 body. And during the opponent's battle phase or your main phase, you can banish this card and another monster they control until the end of the turn. It's kind of good. It's kind of battle fadery, but never something I really summoned. 2 Frecky. When this card battles, you can banish the top 2 cards of the opponent's deck. Neither player takes damage from battles involving this card, and when it's destroyed and sent to the graveyard, it can add back any Runick quick play. This is really good as you can make it in defense and the opponent will just attack it and trigger it to get stuff back. Also under skill drain, it's attacking for 2k and it's quite big. It came up that I attacked with it once and killed something. That's pretty good. Hugin's also pretty much the lifeblood of this deck. On summon, you can discard a card, add a Runick Fountain from deck to hand. If it is destroyed by battle or card effect, you mandatory shuffle it back into your extra. And then if other cards you control would be destroyed by a card effect or battle possibly, battle doesn't really come up in this deck, you can banish this card as a replacement effect. That isn't able to resolve under skill drain, and also it doesn't activate, so you can't really get like tasking or talents in this deck, because you never normally summon this for its first effect to search, because that opens you up to hand traps, which you just don't want to lose to. A few other cards that I made very rarely. Typhon, you can technically turn any of your fusions into it. It's generally a good card, everyone kind of is playing Typhon now. Wombaguska, you can make this using a mono and Jerry, or 2 Amanos. You know, it's Baguska when this does. Lingribo is if the opponent gives you a Cyburst, and then Lingribo is if the opponent gives you a level 1. That can happen against Dinos, against Heroes, against some other decks like Salamangrate, and anything that's got a weird sort of combo that might try and ruin your day, because you won't be able to like evenly them or clear your board. Onto the side deck. The side deck is sort of personalised. You might want to make some changes, but this is what I played. There's a few cards that never came up, and a few cards I'm only playing because I like them, but they never won me any games, so who knows how good they really are. Triple Judgment. It's Solemn Judgment. It negates what you need to negate. You use it to protect your stuff. You use this to defend stuff. It's just really good. In the same vein of this, I'm playing Paradox Fusion. This is another counter trap that can negate spells, traps, or a monster special summon by banishing a fusion you control. It returns to the battle phase, returns to the field during the end phase in 2 turns time, in face of attack position. So if they go battle phase, you use a runic spell to summon a guy you don't care about, and then when they go to evenly you can just banish it to negate evenly. This is better than Judgment if you're going towards time, as you don't want to pay that life points. It's also possibly better than Dark Bribe, as you're unable to Dark Bribe your opponent if they prosperity into anything. I had multiple times while testing this deck that my opponent would prosperity into evenly matched and I would lose because of it, whereas with this I don't, which came up in the actual event. 2 Shadow Imprisoning Mirror. This was originally for Tier and maybe Unchained, but it did come in against Sprite at one point. It's okay. Negates all dark effects activated in the grave and field. It's another floodgate. This will replace your grave if you need to, or any of the other 2 floodgates that aren't that good into that matchup. So probably Rivalry, or possibly even Gozen. Depends. Next up is Triple Evenly. This is to clear boards. Some people think it kind of isn't very intuitive, given that Runics make you skip your battle phase, but there's nothing saying that you have to activate the Runic spells in your draw, standby, or main before you go to the battle phase. So you can set on your turns where you've got evenly in hand, you just go to the battle phase, do all your Runic interaction, and then at the end of that battle phase, even leave them anyway. There's a few times where I'd break boards from Vanadium, because I'd go standby main battle, start using my Runic spells to break the board, and then finish it off with an evenly match to set up. Next up, Duster, clears up control boards, came in against Labyrinth, was about as useful as it is, nothing really special there. Next up, you've got 2 Lava Golems. These often replace the amount of Awanos in board states where they're making more than 2 monsters that you need off the field, not just negated for the turn. Just because a monster doesn't activate for that turn doesn't mean it's a problem in future turns, whereas this can straight up remove the problems before they become a problem. And finally, 2 Ghost Sister and Spooky Dogwood. Is this to sort of work with Moonin, because the more life points you have, the less likely they are to inflict lethal to you. I sided this in game 2 against some decks because I knew that because of the combo nature of the deck, the amount of life points they made, I would have plenty of time to survive and then could establish control of the game state and control and then deck them out from there, which I did. I did deck out a few people. I had a few unhappy people, but that's just kind of this deck. So thanks for watching. That's kind of everything. There's nothing too spicy in here. Subscribe to Team Aegis, like the video, comment. Hopefully I don't play you at the next event, because I'll still be playing this unless it gets hit, which I don't think it will. Thanks guys.
Nice one. Cheers.